Hey everybody, welcome to the Brass Ring. This is your host Desmond. Today's topic that I'm speaking on is, for some reason, this is still a big, huge topic, especially in the black community. This is still a huge topic. On one hand, I know why. On another hand, I don't see why this is still such a prevalent issue. But we're speaking on interracial marriage and Christianity. Now, now, but before I go to the Christianity part of it, we're going to talk about the problems with it, or the problems that people have with it today. We're gonna attack it first from a carnal standpoint, and then we'll get into the Christian side of it and what God has to say about such things. Anyway, interracial marriages, I mean, they've been going on for years, decades even, and they're not going to stop. So whether you agree with it or not, it's not going to stop. Basically, people are going to do what they want to do. I mean, you can't control or stop people from doing what they want to do. I'm going to really come at this issue from the black point of view, because I'm black. So I can speak from the experience point of view of being black. You have a lot of people that are against interracial relationships, black men with non-black women, vice versa, for a lot of different reasons. I guess the most prevalent reason is because usually, I shouldn't even say usually because that's not true, but a lot of times, it may even be half of the time, when a person dates someone and then marries someone outside of the race, a lot of times it's due to a trauma or a tragedy, something that happened in that person's life at some juncture that made them bitter or hurt them about men or women in their particular racial group. So a lot of times when you ask black women why they didn't marry a black man, or why they don't date them, or you ask a black man the same question, they usually have a list of reasons, or a couple different reasons why. And one of the reasons is they was hurt. They was dating a black woman and then something happened, or they tried to date black women. Like this is the biggest thing that you get from black men that I've talked to. Black men that usually date non-black women say they date non-black women because black women are materialistic. That's one. Or they date black women because black women like thugs. Or they don't date black women because black women don't work out. They're overweight. You know, they're usually overweight and out of shape. So that's another reason that you get why black men don't date black women. Or because black women have a lot of kids. It's hard to find a black woman who doesn't have a lot of kids. Or black women have high standards. Their standards are above what most men would be able to meet. So there's a lot of different reasons on why black men don't date black women. I'm not going to get into all of them because this video would just be ridiculously long. I'm just going to get into what I see as the most prevalent thing. The underlying thing that I see outside of black women are overweight. I mean, that's not going to fit into what I'm saying. But the most prevalent thing I see when it comes to why black men don't date black women is because there was a particular trauma that happened, or a particular tragedy. And when I say trauma or tragedy, I mean there was an instance, something that happened in your life, usually when you were younger, because those are usually the years when you're being developed and shaped into the man that you're going to be. I mean, it's true. If you anyone that went to public school, I mean, there was a certain group of people that got girls, and there was a certain group of people that didn't. And unfortunately, if you wasn't in a particular group and had the particular characteristics that women was looking for, you didn't get them. I mean, you didn't get your pick of the litter was very small, and usually the pick of the litter that you got wasn't the pick of the litter that you want, that you was desiring and chasing after. Same thing with women. I mean, there was a particular group of women that had guys chasing after them, and there was a particular group that didn't. They didn't have their pick of a lot of guys. Usually, the guys that was coming after them wasn't the guys that they desired. So, I mean, that pendulum swings both ways. But I'm going to speak from the perspective of a man. So yeah, so you have a lot of men like that went to school and they were in that particular group that didn't have their pick of the litter for various reasons. It can be because they didn't dress well. Maybe their family didn't have a lot of money where they could dress well, where they couldn't wear like Nikes and name brand things like that, which is that is a big deal in the black community. Let me tell you that right now. If you go to public school and you can't afford labels, you can't afford a brand, and you got on, when I was growing up, they called them Bobos, no name brand sneakers. I don't even know if they call it no more, but if you had on Bobos and you had clothes that wasn't name brand and things like that, I mean, you wasn't getting no play. I don't know how it is now, because I ain't in high school no more or middle school no more, but that's how it was when I was going. You wasn't getting no play. If you had a ridiculous looking haircut, I mean, you wasn't getting no play. I mean, what else is it? When I was growing up, I grew up in the 80s, so there was a lot of colorism. So if you was dark skinned, a lot of times you didn't get no play. That was heavily prevalent in the 80s. I remember one time a friend of mine told me that the reason why girls didn't want to mess with me is because I was dark skinned. I mean, he ain't tell me something that I didn't know. I mean, I already knew it. But I'm just saying that's how prevalent it was. So it wasn't a secret. I mean, it was out there. That's how it was. So whether that's the reason, because you got men that was dark complected, or you got men that couldn't, at the time it was boys, but they couldn't afford name brand clothes. Whatever the case may be, this produces that's something that shapes you as a person. As you're maturing into a man, you remember these things. You never forget. You never forget things that shape you into becoming a man. You remember them. The only difference is whether you move past them and how you move past them. And there's men that move past it and say, okay, that's how my childhood was. It's not like that now. And it's not like that now as much as it was. But there's still a lot of colorism that happens in the black community. It's just that men in particular are judged more based on their status than so much complexion and looks. It's just one of those things. Women are heavily based on what they look like versus their status. I mean, men and women, we pick our partners different. Men admire beauty. We like beauty. We go after beauty. We chase beauty. Women, on the other hand, their ideal man or what they look for is different. It's not the same. Their weight on what they prioritize is the same as what we put our priorities on. That's why you can see a guy who's not very attractive, like a Bill Gates, but who's brilliant intellectually and academically. You can see someone like that with a model type wife, and he's not a good looking guy at all. You're really not going to see that with men. You're not going to see I don't care how rich the woman is. I mean, you're just really not going to see her with a devastatingly handsome guy, because men put a lot of weight on beauty. It's just how we're made. God made us that way. We're supposed to recognize beauty. We're just not supposed to be a slave to beauty. So anyway, and we're not supposed to put beauty over, definitely not over spirituality. I don't care how beautiful a woman is. If she ain't believing and not having the same faith that you have, then to marry her is just ridiculous. But anyway, So you have that with a lot of men. So there's a lot of men today, a lot of black men today that don't date black women. And they'll say, because, when I was doing this or I was like this, and when I was younger, black women didn't want me, da 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 da. And today is different. There's a lot of black women. Number one, if they're successful, you're going to have a lot of women chasing you, period. And yes, you're going to have black women, and the kind of black women that probably wouldn't have dated you back then. It would date you now. A lot of times people change too. The same black women that was probably trumped up in all that colorism. I mean, as you get older, you do change. You mature, you get older, and you don't hold on to the same ideals that you had when you was younger. So women change, and they're like, black women change, and now they're at a maturity level and an intelligence level where it doesn't come down to, they're not worried about the complexion of a man or anything like that, and they will actually date a man based on the man and not based on his complexion. But you have a bunch of men who they don't forget and they don't move past that. So that led into a flux of interracial relationships as well. Now, I have no problem with interracial relationships. I'm a Christian first and foremost. I'm not pro-black. I'm pro-Christ. So if you watch my previous videos, you'll know that I stand on Christianity. I don't stand on any man-made doctrine, any man-made philosophy, anything like that. If you are a Christian and God puts a Christian woman in front of you, and she's a decent woman, she believes as you believe, she got a good head on her shoulders, and you're attractive to her, I don't care what color she is, make her your wife if that's how you both feel about each other. I don't believe that your wife has to be the same racial makeup as you. I don't believe that. I believe that your wife has to be of the same spiritual makeup as you. She has to be worshiping the same God as you. That is much more important than the color of her skin. If you got a woman that's non-black and she's worshiping God and she's loving God and she's willing to love you unconditionally and sacrifice for you, I'll get back to that unconditionally, and sacrifice for you, and she's a good woman, she'll be a good wife and a good mother, then marry her. You would be foolish not to. You would be foolish not to. Don't let other people, especially people who aren't even Christians, dictate the life you live. Don't let them dictate how you should go about living your life, especially when it comes to choosing a mate. Because at the end of the day, you're the one that's in that relationship. You're the one that's in that marriage. And one excuse that you can't use to God when your marriage is heading for divorce is, well, they told me I had to marry someone who racially looked like me, or I wasn't down, or I couldn't help people that look like me, or I couldn't wherever the reason may be. There's 1,000 reasons out there and 1,000 different channels on YouTube that's going to tell you why you should marry someone who racially looks like you. And if you're not a Christian and you're not following Christ, then listen to them. I mean, their view and their doctrine is worldly. And if you're not following God, then I'm sure your doctrine and your views is worldly as well. But I'm speaking specifically to Christian men. When God puts someone in front of you and they have all the things that matter, then you would be foolish not to marry that person. You can't say God put someone in front of me and then start putting stipulations on the person that he puts in front of you. Put this person in front of me, but I want them to make close to 6 figures or over 6 figures, but I want them to have a size 8, but I want their hair to be down to their butt. But you can't put stipulations on how God's going to bless you or bring someone into your life. So from a Christian standpoint, you marry whoever God brings in front of you. That's what you do. Getting back earlier to the different reasons on why men do it, that's the biggest reason that I see why black men marry non-black women. Now, that's the biggest. I mean, there's other reasons why they do it, but I'm saying in general, this is the biggest reason that I see. I mean, there's a lot of different ridiculous theories out there, mostly by women. I mean, how would you know why a man does something if you're not a man? Like, I can't speak on, and that's why I'm speaking from a male perspective. I can't speak on why women do it. I mean, I can read a magazine, I could talk to a woman that's done it, and then I can repeat or regurgitate what she said, but I have no experience. I'm not speaking from a point or a place of experience. And I'm not married. I'm not married to anyone. So I'm not speaking from an experience, a marital experience. I'm just speaking on why black men date non-black women the majority of the time, because I've done it. I've dated non-black women, and that was largely in part due to black women rejecting me when I was growing up. Now, that ain't the only reason why. I mean, the girls I dated, I was attracted to them. If I wasn't attracted to them, I wouldn't have dated them. But what I'm saying is that rejection led me to be more open to dating non-black women, and then it just went from there. But as a Christian, you marry other Christians. That's first and foremost. Now, if you're a Christian and you're black and you want to marry a black Christian, then marry a black Christian. There's nothing wrong with that either. There's nothing wrong with being black and you want to have a black wife or a black husband that's a Christian. That's completely fine. It's completely fine to be black and be open to a spouse that's a Christian and you really don't care about their racial makeup. That's completely fine too. But what I don't like is when people try to use Christianity and say that God's against interracial marriage. What a lot of people don't know is Moses' wife was not Hebrew. His wife wasn't Hebrew. She was a Cushite, which is a tribe from Ethiopia. So Moses' wife was not the same racial makeup as him, which is why when his brother Aaron and his sister started making derogatory comments about his wife, God struck his sister with leprosy. So going all the way back to Moses was in a interracial marriage. So, and God defended Moses and his wife when his sister was talking ill about her. So to say that that's a sin or God's against that is a complete falsehood. I think the biggest thing they use against that is to say God separated the people because he didn't want them mixing, which is another falsehood that I'll destroy with a lot of people that say that don't know the Bible at all. God didn't separate people according to their racial makeup. God separated people according to the gods they worship. God did not want Israel mixing with Gentiles because he knew they would lead them into idolatry. That's why he did it. It had nothing to do with their race. If that was the case, then God would have made everybody one color, and that would have never been an issue. He wouldn't have had to separate people. So that's a complete fallacy. What we need to understand is that God is smarter than us. So people that say Christianity is wrong, and there's a lot of people that say it. I'm sorry, not Christianity. Interracial marriage is wrong. And there's a lot of people that say it. I don't really want to just point out one person or pick on one person. Just know that anyone who said that interracial marriage is wrong, I'm addressing that statement. That's what I'm addressing. You can't say interracial marriage is wrong and then at the same time not reject the products that interracial marriage brings forth. I'll use that actor Jesse Williams as an example. Jesse Williams as an example, who made a speech about black women at the BET Awards, I think a year ago. He made that speech. Everyone was championing it. Black women, black women alike, especially black women, because he was particularly addressing them in his speech. So here we have Jesse Williams, who is a product of an interracial relationship, the product of an interracial marriage. And he makes this glorious speech. I like it, you like it, everybody claps about it. But Had it not been for his interracial relationship between his dad and his mom, that speech would have never came into existence. Who else? Barack Obama, first black president, product of an interracial relationship, interracial marriage or whatever. Barack Obama would have never had been Barack Obama. He would have never had been a president of the United States if he didn't come from an interracial marriage, interracial relationship. Because I don't think his parents was married, but an interracial relationship. So he would have never been a president. We would have never had our first black president of the United States had it not been for that union. Who else? Prince, a product of an interracial relationship, who came into this world, made great music. Everyone loves him. I love him. You love him. He's beloved by everyone, but he's really deeply beloved by the black community. So you can't say that interracial relationships or interracial marriage is wrong, but then praise Prince, who's the product of the same thing. So you can't say that it's a curse, but then praise what comes out of it, because wouldn't that be a curse too? I mean, so it don't make sense. Colin Kaepernick, another one who knelt during the anthem, who started a protest. He's interracial. He's a product of an interracial relationship. So you can't big up and champion what Colin Kaepernick's doing, and then at the same time say the union between him and his mother and his dad is wrong. It doesn't make any sense. So that right there, that debunks the whole statement that these people are saying that interracial relationships or interracial marriages are wrong. Because we've seen another one is Sade. I love Sade. She makes beautiful music. I mean, her contribution to the world through her music is bar none a product of an interracial relationship. Bob Marley, interracial. He's made up of various racially different racial makeups. So understand that these people being interracial is part of what makes them them. If they had two black parents, or if they had two white parents and they was all white or all black, they would not be the same person, because their experiences wouldn't be the same. They wouldn't have went through the same things that they went through in life. They wouldn't have seen things the way they see them in life now. Their experience would be totally different. So they would not be the same people. You are what your experience. You are what you experience. So whatever you go through is what shapes how you see things. It shapes how you react to things. It shapes how you hear things. It does all those things. We are a total makeup of the mother and the father. So people that say interracial relationships or interracial marriage is wrong, they don't know what they're talking about. And if you're a Christian, that's not even Christianity. That's not even Christian. That's not even Christian doctrine. That's worldly doctrine and idiotic doctrine. So you can totally dismiss that. Listen to God and don't listen to men. God will steer you right every time. Men will steer you down a rabbit hole. You'll end up with a life that you never even wanted, listening to other people. Believe me. So, to address interracial marriage from a Christian standpoint, no, there's nothing wrong with it. From a worldly standpoint, there may be something wrong with it, because the world has their own set of rules. And if you're a Christian, really, who gives a hell what the world thinks? The world's already been judged. Jesus already judged the world. The world's going to hell. The world is made up of a particular system that oppresses people, keeps one set of people down while keeping other people elevated. The world is very partial. So if you have money, you're going to get a different form of justice than someone who doesn't. I mean, so who cares what the world think? We need to separate from the world and their thinking and how they operate. We need to just be aware of what's going on in the world, but we don't need to attach ourselves to the world, and we shouldn't make decisions based off what the world is doing. We need to make decisions based off what's in the Bible. So to wrap up this interracial marriage debate, if you're a Christian, it really shouldn't be a debate. Yeah, there is the racial element. Yes, if you have someone that looks like you, who goes through the same experiences as you, yes, it's very there's some things you don't even have to explain. Getting pulled over or discriminated against because you're black and you have a black wife. I mean, you don't have to go in depth how that feels. She's going to understand how that feels because she's been through it. Whereas if you have someone who hasn't had that experience, we can just say white, because other people of color do have that experience. I mean, Puerto Ricans, it happens. Mexicans, it happens. If you're a dark complected Indian, Dominican, or brown skin, whatever it happens, you will get discriminated against. But if you have someone who's not a person of color, if they're white and either a husband or a wife, yes, you will have to explain and kind of go into depth and detail about your experiences and how it makes you feel. You will have to do that. If they're the right person, if you pick the right person to marry, they'll understand. They won't understand through experience because they can't, but they'll be able to empathize and sympathize with you. No doubt. They'll be able to do that if you pick the right person. So the biggest thing when in all this, the biggest thing in all this is finding someone that believes how you believe and that worships God the way you worship God. If you worship in God with your life and your tongue, find someone that worships God with their life and their tongue. If they just worship God with their tongue and they going out clubbing and they getting drunk and they wilding out and doing all this stuff, that's not the person for you, because you're not even evenly yoked. This person is saying one thing but living their life a totally different way. You want someone that's consistent, not only in what they say, but also in their lifestyle and how they live. That's far more important than the racial makeup of someone. So anyway, I just wanted to address this topic because it's a hot topic. If you look all around YouTube, I mean, it's all over the place. They got all kinds of ideals on why people do this and why people do that. But as a man and as a person who has dated outside their race, I can relate to the rejection. I can relate to that aspect of it, the rejection and the trauma that comes with it. Yeah, and people look at trauma like, I fell off a building, I broke my neck, I got shot, something like that. But nah, trauma is just pivotal points in your life where it helps shape who you are. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so those experiences help shape who I am today. That's why I'm not pro-black. Everyone that looks at you, just because someone looks like you doesn't mean they're for you. So don't trust someone just because they black. Don't trust someone just because they say they're a Christian. Because everyone that say they're a Christian and attend church don't follow the tenets of Christianity. Some people is just a show. Some people is just talk. Some people, their doctrine is incorrect and they worship God in a totally different way than how the Bible say they should worship. So you have to be forever vigilant when you're dealing with people. Never just trust a person because they look like you, because every black person is not going to believe how you believe. Every black person is not for you. That's why you got these people that say they're against interracial marriages, interracial relationships, but they love Prince, they love Sade, they love Kaepernick and what he's doing, they love Jesse Williams. So, they're a contradiction. Not knowing and not understanding intellectually that if it wasn't for the interracial parents coming together, that the things they love about their offspring wouldn't even have happened. That's why I said earlier that God is he's all wise, and he knows everything. A lot of times these traumas that happen in our lives, God used them. He uses these traumas and he turns it around for good. I don't know what happened with Colin Kaepernick's mom and dad. I have no clue. I have no clue how they came together. But what I do know is they're coming together. Whatever the reason was, could have been out of love, could have been out of lust, could have been out of maybe he had a trauma that happened in his life that led him to get in with his mom? I have no clue. Maybe she had a trauma that led her to get with him. I have no clue. But what I'm saying is, God can use things in your life to bring forth blessings later on. So whatever led Shardae's mom and dad, Kaepernick's, Jesse Williams, Obama's, whatever, and Bob Marley, a slew of other people, whatever led their parents or their grandparents to get together and make offspring, God can use that to make something great happen. You know what I mean? Truth be told, if a lot of people didn't have tragedy or certain things happen in their lives, they would have had a black partner, a black spouse, but they wouldn't have produced Colin Kaepernick. They wouldn't have produced Prince. They wouldn't have produced Jesse Williams. So God uses things to bring forth a blessing or a brilliant plan. So to say that interracial relationships or marriages is wrong, that comes from a person who lacks wisdom. Because if you knew your Bible, if you're a Christian anyway, and you know your Bible, then you would already know that Moses was married to a woman that didn't have his racial makeup. And God blessed that union. So that right there should cease all the interracial marriage talk, especially from people that claim to be Christians, but they don't know their Bible. They don't know Christianity, and they don't know the doctrine, the true doctrine. They been listening to pastors today that just give you watered down versions of what the gospel is, and then they listen to people running around on YouTube that say they're Christians, and then they also say interracial relationships is wrong. I mean, so bottom line is listen to God, don't listen to man, and that goes for me too. Don't follow me or listen to me or what I'm saying. If I'm not, if I come with a doctrine and my doctrine isn't backed by gospel, isn't backed by the Bible or the Word of God, it's just something I made up, then don't listen to it, because I really don't have anything to say. I'm a man like everybody else. Everybody got an opinion, but I tell you what, my opinion is not going to help you on your Christian walk. My opinion is not going to help you better your life. It's not. I mean, since the beginning of the time, man had his own thoughts, and that since the beginning of the time, man has been messing up the world. So follow what Christ say, and you'll be good. Anyway, that's it on this topic. You can leave your comments below. Thanks for listening.